You blink and you'd miss it in our opening matchup of the series. Astralis drown out Vitality on Nuke as a sea of Danes engulf the Frenchman every step of the way and reign supreme in a dominant 16-4. But on the horizon, some hope for the Frenchmen. Their map pick of Dust 2 is just around the corner and a chance for redemption against the mighty Danes. Before that, Sudan and Alex have got to join me to be breaking this one down. And Blair, Astralis are looking so clinical. They are back in a big way.
Oh, they're back. You know, we kind of talk about bees dying out nowadays, right? And it's a lot of reasons behind that, like habitat loss. We talk about pesticides, climate change. Throw in Astralis as well, and one of the reasons that was just a symphony of destruction, and it was beautiful to watch. It was so hard to break down what Vitality were doing wrong because they didn't really have a chance to really react. There were a few rounds here and there, like some 3v4s, 2v4s, where they could have converted. But even if that had happened, I feel this was Astralis all the way. It had their name all over that.
Yeah, I think maybe we should focus on what Astralis were doing right there, Mary, because it seemed like everybody were just stepping up. They were absolutely playing with Vitality there. Were there any kind of key focuses for that T side that we saw?
Jeez, that just felt like if Liquid were playing tactically sound and had more set plays, that's what Astralis is right now. The firepower on that team is just bewildering. There's no way to really understand what Vitality felt in that game other than being in their shoes, because they got absolutely smashed. Just every single player from Astralis was hitting every shot they could possibly hit. That was just a complete stomp.
I mean, if we're looking for a glimmer of hope in all this madness, of course, Dust 2 is coming up next, Blair, and this is the map pick of Vitality. So I'm wondering what we should be expecting going into this one.
Look, we can look at the results, we can talk about all the stats and numbers and everything, and you can be like, yeah, I mean, Astralis did lose to G2 on Dust 2, 16-2, a very convincing loss. They also lost to Fnatic as well, 16-7, which I do believe was Astralis' map pick. But after watching that Nuke, I don't care what map they're going to be playing on, Assault or whatever, FY Ice World. I feel Astralis just have the number. Also, what remember Glaive said, you know, they're expecting Dust 2 to be picked in, and they know they've struggled a bit on this map, so I'm expecting them to have done their homework. I don't think it's going to be easy for Vitality here.
Yeah, when Astralis are coming in that hot and they're practiced and prepared for your own map pick, you have got to be looking out for it. We'll be delving into Dust 2 after a break.
Nuke was a barrage of brutality, and Vitality simply could not stand up to just the amount of pressure that was being applied. But now Dust 2, they touched on it on the desk. We mentioned it before, Tom. This is a map where Astralis have looked human, they have looked mortal, but we didn't see them coming into the map with this fine form beforehand. And so that, for me, makes it a bit more of a coin flip.
Yeah, I think the worry is, like, last time we saw them, Device was missing. Like, he wasn't really there on the map at all. In fact, it was pretty poor performance from him, which is not something you say very often. In fact, I even mentioned it at the time. I was like, I'm not going to expect to see a second map like this from him. The worry is if he has a second map like he just did, then this could be a completely different ballgame. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Vitality. They have been a team that's had to come back from things before. Sure, one of their main weaknesses is getting to finals and crumbling, like especially over the last 6 to 8 months. At the same time, they've still got to get to the finals. So I'm still looking at them to give a damn good fight, and that's already a good start in the pistol round. Apex is going to kill off the aggressor of Glaive. Device also very low, and now they're going to look to try and pincer onto this A site, and S-Tag has a mountain to climb. There's no chance for him here. Sure, they've lost 2v4s, they've lost 3v5s. I don't think they lose this pistol round, Vince.
They haven't lost the 2v5 yet, but Dupree is putting a lot of damage down, and he picked up 20 kills in the first map, so tread lightly. But they do triple peek him. and that will certainly yield the kill. Well played, Vitality, just what we were hoping to see from the neutrals' perspective, that they could get themselves back into this map quickly. And let's be honest, there's a core of veteran players here, very experienced players that have been battered and really up against it many times in the past. Sometimes you just have to say, fair enough, you showed up, you hit your shots, but we're still very much in this map. So it's good to see them come straight out swinging and getting some success. Apex, though, has come out worse for wear in this trade against Device and then gets picked off through the double doors. Well, you can scrap all of that momentum because now it's been spun back around in the face of Vitality. They find themselves a player behind.
This flashbang will leave man just completely blind. The second one's even better, though. S-Tag with the dig has managed to find a couple. He's never going to expect him. Oh, my goodness. It is very short-lived for the side of Vitality. We were positive for probably about a minute and a half, Vince, and then it's straight back to the Astralis train.
Oh, kicked off by Device, double tagging Apex. The second shot was through the doors, up middle, from one side of the map to the other. And that really just set things in motion. Vitality walking out into long got dispatched, and now they find themselves into another force buy. 4 Deagles. Scout for Apex again. But some AKs and Galils now joined to the arsenal of weaponry for the Danes. Apex caught out in middle. Make sure he doesn't get picked off. In middle doors again, and Vitality looking to try and get aggressive through Catwalk. They do have a smoke and a few flashbangs. So if they can put these down range successfully, then things could get interesting. Ooh. And speaking of which, Device has had his head removed. Apex spotting the second player, flicking across, taking off the head of S-Tag. The executioner of Apex is putting this round in the hands of Vitality, and only Shox has fallen as a result. But the bomb, look where the bomb is. The other side of the map.
Oh, he's seen it now for sure. He must have done. This could be a problem. Like, Dupree's now managed to find one more. Zywoo is trying to sneak his way back around. Still only has a Deagle. They should pincer in onto Glaive. There should be no hope. And RPK just making sure that he has the kill down. Now, Dupree, he was the best player in the last map. No questions asked. He was entry fragging and top fragging at the same time. If you do that, you're the king in the server. This, though, wow, this would be just as impressive. 25 HP, 2 players to find, not knowing where either of them are, only knowing where they were moments ago. Sure, the time is ticking. He's just going to wait towards B. And the question is, what direction do Vitality go in? Oh, they're going to walk into the Lion's Den. They're going to face off against the one remaining Dane of Dupree. He's trying to play a bit of a headshot angle. He's going to hit the footsteps. There's only 10 seconds left for the flash. It's perfect. Good work from Vitality. I think a crucial round from them, really. They couldn't allow Astralis to get the momentum built again, so they break back once more.
Yeah, these 2 entries from Apex are just exceptionally solid, fast, quick-fire shots that allow the T's to make a move. But as we said, that bomb being dropped down over on the B side of the map, that was the scary situation coming to light. A chance on Astralis to maybe bounce back. Now, they have gone in for another force, including 3 scouts. It is a map where scouts are certainly a very feasible and viable selection of weaponry, these longer range skirmishes, and that's why Zywoo takes the shot off the chest, but he can tank it. It's not the AWP, it's its baby brother. And with the push coming in, it's looking a little bit dire for Astralis, but they're still holding their ground, they're still landing shots, and now they can push behind it. FAMAS, spray comes into effect, Apex gets silenced over on middle, and they've done enough. They've forced back Vitality. There was no utility for the cross, and it allowed the scouts to just rip into these oncoming Ts. They second-guessed themselves. They had no map control. They didn't know if the CTs were pushing up around middle, so they split off from one another, and they go back in towards B. They have time at their side, Tom, but HP bar's looking a bit scarce, and a player behind.
Shox is trying to make as much noise as humanly possible. In fact, he's even going to get rid of one of the AKs. A smart decision, but he almost gets caught out while switching guns. They line up so close for Glaive to get a double. He's going to take one down while completely blind, and he's being pressured by Masuta. He can't quite take him out. He may have done enough. The bomb's rotated in, but they have to be patient, and Shox is gone. It's left all onto the youngster, the rookie left alone, and S-Tag won't give him a second's notice. It's 2-2. It's back and forth. And honestly, Vince, I don't know where this is going at this point.
I don't think anyone does, Tom. This is what we were
He
expecting to
blinded
see on Nuke.
himself.
Blinds himself, but still lands the shot. Just glaive things. And this is what we expected on Nuke. Vitality have won 82.5% of the rounds Zywoo has got the opening kill now.
Beautiful.
That dropping from 91.7%, of course, on Nuke.
That's probably my favorite one so far. That
Still
was
a very
peak
high
because
percentage.
just as that stat came up, they lost 4 rounds where he got the opener. Just for anybody who wasn't here for map 1, you missed a crazy map for very different reasons. Of course, this one has had a back and forth in the first 4 rounds, which is pretty ridiculous. The fact is, 4 rounds is also the amount that Vitality managed to get on the last map. So if you are a Vitality fan, let's just say this is map 1, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, pretty grim to say they're already halfway through their grand total of rounds on Nuke. But Astralis will be favorites to take this one. There's only 3 guns in play and 0 utility left. Vitality running this raw. AK, Galil, Scout, some Deagles. We know they certainly have the aim to live up to this lack of weaponry and make it work, but Astralis the kind of team that will not give them too many opportunities to let these guns do the talking for them. Decent setup as well. Flashbang through onto middle. Dupree goes for a check. No one home. But they will still keep Glaive and Dupree interesting in mid. Dupree can quickly wrap around and he will be called upon now. Straight up entry. Typically going to have the AK in the hands of Apex, but making it work with the Scout, but they don't push behind it. They wait a little bit. They let the CT sweat this one out. They still have time. They will look to pivot and pierce in towards Catwalk.
I'm starting to question whether or not Searson is still the best Scout player in the world, because Apex has just got 3 headshot entries in multiple different rounds and they managed to win. It's just starting to get a little bit ridiculous. I wonder how deadly he'd be with the AWP. Doesn't even have to hit the head anymore, but the worry here, Vince, is the time. They've got 20 seconds. They have to get a real move on. It looks like they're going to go rotating to the B site. Now, the footsteps have been heard. Dupree is the man waiting for them, but this would have to be an incredible round, and I think the swing is going to continue, but the Molotov is so well timed. There's only 9 seconds for them to get across to the site. The jump would just about give them enough time to get the bomb down, and now the remaining 2 players for Astralis might just have to take the hit. It looks like we're going back and forth again.
Outrageous. A Scout, a Galil, an AK. That's all they had. Apex. I would love to see his perspective after this round's come to its conclusion on that entry, because there was never any hope. Just instantly removing the head of the B defender. Just as I was saying that Dupree was watching middle and he could quickly flank back onto B if a call came through, well, there was no chance of a call. Insta headshot, and Vitality convert it into a third. Doing so much with so little, and this is great to see, because I was a little bit worried for them after that Nuke performance that they may not get started on Dust 2. They could just have Astralis run away with this, but anything but the case.
On the other side, it looks like Madden's having a bit of fun, and the time actually running out as well. So, Godsend, it's a shame if they peak in this map or in this match versus G2. It's unfortunate. Of course, it's extra points, bit of extra money, yada yada, but they would have much rather done this earlier in the tournament. Now, we are having a force, and interestingly, the CT force has actually improved from what we saw previously. They've got 3 rifles, still got a Deeg and a Scout. Of course, it wouldn't be the same if there wasn't a Scout in one of these rounds. The Ts as well have got a pretty decent purchase. In fact, we're almost 6 rounds in. We're almost at a 4-buy. We're getting there.
Flash into a peek through middle. Bit of damage, but nothing really going to stick too hard. S-Attack spraying down the 2 of them, and RPK and Zywoo stand their ground. Open up business on long. Dupree with a flashbang accompanying him, doing a lot of damage, but running out of ammunition and health. And with his loss of life plus Device dying on the bomb, Vitality not just with a player advantage, but now have control over the bomb site itself. And should be good to get this full plan into effect. They do have a couple players that are low. This is where the Scout and the Deagle could really come to the forefront, but a well-placed incendiary keeps them at bay a little bit longer on short. Now the smoke's starting to clear. Glaive is having a quick look across, clearing his angles in the process. Mages coming under fire. They know one of the two CTs is perched up at the bottom side of the ramp, but he's actually drilled RPK to the box.
What?
Mages with a 1 dig and then goes in for a second onto Shocks. It's going to be close. No, actually, it won't. They've got a kit. Astralis with a beautiful retake.
God, no, I'm not accepting that. That magic headshot is what? How do you hit that? I don't see anything. No, that might be one of the most ridiculous deagle shots I've ever seen. I'm kind of glad that my face doesn't go up on this stream, because like that was genuine shock when he hit that shot. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable. And we're still going back and forth. That should have been it. I was expecting it to be over, Vince. I thought that was 4-2. Oh my god. This is manic. And of course, Masut is now going to get the opener. As said, the buy is slowly getting better and better. My mental health is not. And oh my god, the flash is so good. It's Zywoo getting the assist for an Apex kill. It's all falling apart now in this round for Astralis. And well, I think we're back on the save. It continues, Vince. It goes back again.
This will be the first time, though, that Vitality have strung 2 rounds together, I believe.
Will it?
Oh, no,
they just
conceded
lost.
before.
What are you talking about?
I'm getting confused in my old age. See, I assumed that they'd lost that 2v3. So even when they won it, I still didn't believe it, Tom. I was still living as if they'd actually lost that one, but obviously they didn't, because they're absolutely mad.
It's like, for my own sanity, I'm going to make up my own scores on this one.
So yeah, this is properly back and forth now. Like, not a single team, neither of the teams have won 2 in a row. It's been TCT, TCT the entire time. And the economy in such a weird position where neither team will be feeling too happy with how things have gone so far. I'm not sure if the CT is going for a buy. They may have to. There's a few players down at $1,400, $1,500. So we could have another forced buy of those 2 save guns.
I'll be honest, like, are you really going to be the guys to like chicken out? You don't want to be that guy. Like the force buys have gone back and forth all the way. Until you lose 2, you keep buying. That's the rules. I think this isn't Nuke. This isn't a map where realistically on the CT side they need to be like winning by like a few rounds. Or train or something like that. This is Dust 2. If you get 7, that's all right. So I want to see that. I want to see this continue, even though my heart can't quite take it. Also, analytically, I've got Jack for you, anyone sitting at home, because the last few rounds have been players flash through long and just getting entry double kills and then rushing up short as a different round. So there's not been anything too in-depth coming out from either of the teams. It has just been raw battles of individual skill.
Maybe more of the same here. Long again, the battlefield that both teams have elected, but it only will be Glaive alone. Good place utility, fends off S-Attack, but a molly frag through the smoke onto RPK. A 2-for-2 trade. S-Attack tries to go back in for more, but now the AK is starting to rip through on Long. And even though Dupree will hold B site, Device is alone. Now he does have a sniper, but it's not the AWP. It's the downgraded SG. Still, Shocks is a shot away from death if he lands anywhere on his body on 63 HP. And he will be thrown in first. Run boost across. Now making moves up. Not sure as to where this second CT might be hiding. Maybe on the car, maybe towards the site itself. They have a bit of utility, but they don't have the 2 smokes they'd like for the cross. And that will be a bit of a concern, a bit of an issue for them to contend with. They decide, screw it, we're just going to rush straight across there. If we throw smokes down, it will allow the CTs to know a little bit earlier as to our plans, and they can quickly rotate in. Now the incendiary's been tossed in. Device knows exactly what's coming up. It will be post-plant. In a 2-on-2 with all 4 players pretty healthy. 2 AKs on the CT side. Zywoo goes for the shoulder peek, finds the information he was looking for. One of the 2 in CT probably rotating up on catwalk. What he may not realize is that both players are there together and the smoke is starting to clear. He will be tried, he will be tested. They have a kit, they have a Molotov. Beautiful flashbang tossed in, keeps them at arm's reach. Zywoo changes up his angles but gets put down, and now it's down to Shocks, but Device comes straight out, lands the AK frag. They've got a kit, they'll have the defuse, and Astralis bring us back to even again.
never gonna end. I could see this going all the way 15-15 at this rate. A nice retake from them. I think the Molotov forced Zywoo in such an awkward position. And the one thing that's a little bit disappointing is that Vitality didn't really play that one together, especially once the information was there that both players were coming from that direction. I think there needed to be a little bit more support if Zywoo was going to survive that. Now, we have slowly upgraded. They've traded. They've, well, basically upgraded their portfolio. And now we actually have rifles. Not because anyone ecoed, of course, but just because of the finances, the bomb going down as Vitality seemed to lose, and then some of those weapons being stolen by the CT side, whose money normally gets wrecked quite a bit sooner than this. Looking to see who will be the first to get 2 in a row. It feels like an overtime, but in fact, we're only in round 8, and Masuta, 1 HP, as close as a trade as can be, is going to get the opener, and it's Dupree to go down.
He gets finished off by Glaive, though, as he tries to scurry into Catwalk. Zywoo with the up and over flashbang. Apex dropping down into CT, but Glaive in position. Gets his second of the round. It's at cost of some HP. But considering that Vitality got the first pick, they've then lost the subsequent next 3 plays, and they're all to the hand of Glaive. He is carving a path through the Frenchman towards Astralis leading again. Zywoo peeking up middle simultaneously. Shox comes in. He was the best performing player on Nuke. And a pretty rough bunch, if we're being honest. Then Glaive's got a 4th. He could be on for the ace, but Zywoo takes it away from him. 30 seconds. Low HP. Has the bomb, but no idea as to where the remaining CTs are. Flicking up into the header device. He has enough time to feasibly clutch this. And Estetag is the last line of defense on A. He'll be playing this one a little bit more passively, a little bit more patiently. Hell, just give this fight away to Zywoo. Wait for the cavalry to arrive. Make sure you double peek him. Simultaneously, Zywoo so nearly lands the no-scope, but on 1 HP, he's still alive. He's still here. He's still kicking. And you cannot disrespect this man because he will punish you. Storm Zywoo comes in and leaves nothing but carnage in his wake. That's outrageous.
I can't believe what is going on in this game. Just to put this into perspective, that was a 1v4 to keep the combo going of back and forth rounds. Like, Zywoo's just absolutely obliterated them and died. If it was just a second, if they waited a second for the nade to go off, they win the round. That's unbelievable. All this needs to say is wow. That's the only fun fact that we need, because that was one of the most unbelievable clutches. And this game just keeps on giving. And Astralis did everything right. A supreme round coming out from Glaive as well. 4 kills and just leaving it down to his teammates to close it out. And Zywoo just doing Zywoo things. 5-4. This time, they haven't saved any weaponry, Vince. It should have been Vitality initially to take 2, but it was the Deagles to get things over the line. Then it should have been Astralis in a 1 versus 4. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure I care. I just want this to carry on.
After that Nuke performance, I thought, man, this game promised so much and it just hasn't delivered so far. But my God, Dust 2 has been an entirely different ball game. Zywoo has now landed 2 clutches in this tournament. 1 on Mirage, 1 here on Dust 2 that may very well go in the top 3 plays come the end of this year. He has been a man on a mission, a force of nature. And Astralis, you felt like it had to be a big play like that which would finally break down the economy. They've done it, but we've been in this position before, Tom. We've been in Deagles, we've been in Scouts, and they've still made it work. So I'm not writing Astralis off yet, but you'd have to think a play of that magnitude is the kind of inspirational, motivational moment that maybe awakens something in Vitality, or perhaps not. Maybe they'll get silenced down, but it's Zywoo and Apex. After a wild spray with the Deagle, and Essetag can't stick the landing on both players. He only gets 1. And in doing so, a golden opportunity now rises to the forefront. Vitality have a chance to be 2 rounds in the lead. The first time in this entire map. Going above and beyond. Dupree with a Deagle, though, trained down, waiting patiently for his moment to strike, but it doesn't come, and he has to give this one up. It looks like finally, Tom, we're getting a bit of sanity back into this game. It only took 10 rounds.
if this is sanity, then I don't know what insanity is. I'll be honest. Like I can't accept your claim that things are going back to normal. But yeah, that's what it took. It took a 1v4 ace clutch on 1 HP where he died at the end for Vitality to get 2 rounds in a row, and it completely destroyed Astralis' economy. Now, I have to say, after a clutch like that, if Vitality don't win the map, there's nothing they could do. Let's just put it that way. If they don't win the map after something that ridiculous, there is truly nothing that could have made them beat Astralis today. Because, as said, that you won't see... Like, this is the problem. Like, I feel like people don't seem to realize that just because Zywoo does this, like, more often than not, like, we don't get stuff like that every day. Like, that is ridiculous. Truly unbelievable. And while the reward they get after finally breaking their opponent's economy is an eco. We're in round 11, and this is the first eco we've seen.
They do still exist, Tom. I wouldn't fault you for believing that maybe ecos are a thing of the distant past, but trust me, they're very much real. Just not in this matchup until this point. 7-4, 3-round lead extending. Zywoo starting to feel it more and more with every passing second. Look at that spray from the AK, just back and forth like a turret. Gets in for a 4K. And now he is up to 13 kills, 5 deaths with 4 assists. And the pressure begins to swell on Astralis. Okay, we've had this back and forth scrappy affair. Now the T's are building a bit of an economy, Astralis. What do you have to say to that? What is your retort? It's going to be long control. Flashbangs are good on both sides, though. Both teams being flashed simultaneously, and it comes out pretty even. But that equality's been taken away from Mages, spraying up through the smoke while Esatag is laid in wait. Excellent hold. Only 1 casualty. There is the retort. And it's decisive, it's clear, it's resounding.
It's a really nice take back from Astralis. I like the fact that we still see these sort of gambles. Like, it's something that you have to do quite regularly, but it's based off the read of your opponent. And Vitality have been challenging for long, quite a lot through this map. Interestingly, we mentioned Device's AWP at the very beginning of the game. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong, because at this point I might have missed it. I don't think he's had an AWP this entire map.
No, he's had a lot of scouts, but no AWP. It's just because the economy's been so busted, but maybe they can start to get themselves back into this. Now, it's another great hold. 4 kills unanswered. Astralis were down. Maybe a little bit of motivation lost with that crazy clutch, but they're bouncing back with a bang.
Yeah, they're a map to the good. Obviously, the first one was completely dominant from the likes of Astralis, and now they finally get 5 rifles, and it seems like that's the turning point. Looking to try and get back after what was that ridiculous force by battle. And of course, it seems like we're going to have a pause coming in. There's been a few of them so far. Given a bit of extra time to talk and offer the tease at this point. The money's not great. Jocks is in there twice, so it's probably a technical one this time. But even if we just take whoever's money is missing into consideration, the chances are the buy, if they do go for one, is going to mainly involve just rifles, no AWP for Zywoo. And I'll be honest, Vince, I really want to see that AWP come back, please. Again, he's not had it much either, and the one time he did, he single-handedly won them around. So, if anything, I think that's reason enough to maybe just go for some pistols, go for a faster short play, especially with how they've been able to perform with like the scouts and pistols. Actually, that's another investment I'd like to see. If somebody wants to hand Apex a scout, that would also work too.
Sure. No, that's a good point. You know, obviously Zywoo's going to get a lot of the plaudits with that crazy clutch and the 4K afterwards against basically an eco, but Apex, he's been chugging along, flying under the radar. Apex with some big scout entries. In the other game, Godsent already a map to the good against G2 would be a bit of a head turner of the result. Now lead 9-6 in the second half of the second map. That would be a huge upset, I think it's safe to say, Tom.
Yeah, I definitely think that G2 probably been a little bit underwhelming this tournament. Like, we've still seen decent games from Kenny and Hunter, but it's not quite been the response from the rest of the players we would have wanted to see. Luckily, if you are a French Counter-Strike fan, it seems like Vitality have got a show for you today. Of course, this is an upper bracket match. This is a chance for a spot in the grand final. with other teams having to battle out. There's also something worth noting is if you do go straight into the grand final tomorrow, you get the day off to watch the rest of the teams, as Sunday is exclusive grand final day, a best of 5 that I'm sure is going to be fantastic. Whoever ends up getting through, of course, we've still got Heroic and NIP facing off in the lower bracket final, and they'll have to face one of these two teams. I wouldn't like to be in that position. And we've got some pistols here, Vince. They did play it safe. But that may not mean it's safe for the side of Astralis. They've got the B bomb site. They've picked up an AK onto RPK. Device is the first responder, but with an AWP, he just kind of hoping that someone gives him an angle, gives him a position to take a piece of this Vitality defense. And while chances are this is going to be another round for the Danes.
It's looking likely. S2 still have an AK. That flashbang could not have been placed perfectly, but neither are these bullets. But Vitality are holding the line, and not just that, they're going above and beyond. S2 have a chance to clutch with a deagle, but Mage just too fast. And with a kit, he will have this defuse covered. A very costly round for Astralis, but of course they'll have more than enough money in the bank for the final round of the half. So close yet so far, 7-7. And I think it's only fitting, Tom, considering the start of this map, that it will be as even as possible coming through into that second half.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's either team that we can look at and go, yeah, they deserve to be in the lead right now. If anything, I kind of want to just end the half here and just chuck it off to a break, because I think that someone going into the lead is almost just not doing this match justice. Zywoo and actually Dupree and Device are going to be back onto AWP, so definitely not something we've seen from the Astralis defense so far as a double AWP setup, mainly due to financial restraints. See if Dupree can add in a little bit more to the madness.
Switching across the AWP to Magisk, who is on low HP. He can also use this, no problems. Astralis, a very versatile bunch of players. Vitality, in the meanwhile, have the AWP in the hands of Zywoo. And this is where you expect magic to happen. Peering down middle, has control over the bomb. 3 players on Astralis over on A side. No one really watching middle from up close. They're very susceptible to being smoked off. But if Vitality were to go for a dry peek up mid, there's 2 players that could be staring them down. There are the smokes that we are looking for. This is where it puts a lot more pressure. This effectively turns into a 2v5. They need a quick rotation. Esatag may be the man to do just that as he comes round. There's a smoke in his eyes. How quickly can Vitality spring into action? AWP shot narrowly missing Dupree. He will live to tell the tale. 30 seconds left. Now the smoke's being put down. Not fully investing or pushing in behind this. Shox goes in before the rest of his teammates, and Magisk on the low HP, proving that this AWP is in safe hands. He's already taken down 2, and he's shooting just to the left-hand side of the oncoming terrorist. 15 seconds, and Dupree needs to hold the line, and he holds it in style for the first. But Apex and Zywoo still standing, still delivering before Device gets a wallbang shot through straight in, forcing Zywoo in a 1-on-3. He has no time, he has no life. Astralis will lead comes the second half, 8-7. I don't think anyone would have faulted you after that Nuke performance if you thought this would be a bit of a dud, a bit of an anticlimactic match. But Dust 2 has proven you entirely wrong. It has been an absolute classic between Astralis and Vitality. And we still need to figure out who's going to come out ahead here, Tom. We could even have a third map if Vitality turn this one around. But as I'm speaking, Glade's already been dinked straight up middle.
Yeah, looks like they're going to try and just take some pace straight onto this B site. Misuta going to quell them for now. It's a fallback of sorts as they reclaim Tunnel's control. And well, they know that there's a battle going on in mid, so maybe Shox is about to come under a little bit of pressure. He's one of the all-time pistolers. There's no doubt about that. However, even he decides that maybe this isn't the battle to take.
Astralis on the back foot, making sure they don't trip over. With a minute 10 coming up on the clock, 3 players on Vitality with their superior longer range weaponry of the USPs perched in perfect position to deal the fatal blow and get themselves back to equality. Apex also lining up the flashbang. Should any of those T's peek in, the call will come through from Shox, the flashbang tossed in, and Astralis will be pushed backwards. But Magisk actually faking this out, going alone, while the rest of his teammates are thinking with the idea of going up through middle. They have 2 smokes at their disposal, now being tossed for the cross. And now they can look to try and wrap straight through. Zywoo, how is your aim? On point as always, even while flashbanged. He gets one, now spinning around into action, activating, and it's nothing but headshots to Zywoo. Again, a 4K, an 8th round to Vitality, and Astralis have been comprehensively beaten down.
Somebody should start building the set for map number 3 because Zywoo is alive and kicking. Mentioned it in the last map that Device was gunning for his top spot, trying to take that 2019 best player in the world and steal it for 2020. Well, Zywoo has other ideas. 18-9. Another fantastic round from him. And well, for Astralis, for the Danes, going to be nada in this round. Now, short pressure is normally something advised when it comes to these sort of pistol rounds. The reason being, it's normally an easy plant. It's the best place where you can get towards the site, maybe dodge some of those scout shots that are waiting on the other side, and try and get yourself an extra $800 per piece. The hidden man, though, Zywoo in the corner, well, he only gets 1. In fact, Magisk has killed Glaive, sacrificed him, taken Zywoo, and killed RPK. This man is on a tear, even if it means his teammates fall as well. I don't think they'll mind too much, though, because a couple of guns dropped when you're about to buy is not too bad at all.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because they did get 2 players across, but with a post plant, they would have been able to afford an AWP on Device. Now, I'm not sure what they would have preferred. They could potentially get a scout, and they have gone for a scout on Device. He was about $4,300, I think, dollars. So he has to dip down to this instead. But Vitality, with those 2 players having been deemed casualties, they have to replenish. Apex, $0. Zywoo, $250, and Shox below the $1,000 threshold. So Vitality, even though they have regained the lead, they're not out of the woods just yet in terms of their economic struggles. Astralis have a chance, but they themselves are under the cosh as well here, Tom. They will be struggling if they concede. So they take middle control again. This is a tried and tested strat that Astralis do like to run. Catwalk control, middle control. Trying to basically control the entire map and put Vitality into awkward positions on their rotations.
Spoke about Dupree's entries when it came to Nuke. He's just trying to almost sell TT side down the river. The re-aggression baits or tries to bait them into a rotation in the direction of A, but the push coming out from Apex couldn't have been better timed. He's going to gain so much information, maybe even a free kill as Glaive turns around, but it's a bit of a whiff. The incendiary will hold them back for now. But the problem is for Astralis is, okay, they know they've given up this control. They know the Vitality of information that they're not quite pressuring short. So now they're going to try and do the reverse and switch things back up.
Time of the essence. All 10 players still standing. Apex hiding in the tight angle. Good flashbang, but Dupree's up to the task, and he passes it with flying colors. Zywoo, next player up, next player to be chopped down by Magisk, and with 10 seconds to go, more than enough time for the plant to come into fruition. Masuta, RPK, and Shox may very well look to say, for the reasons I highlighted before, it's Apex and Zywoo that have both died, and they will have very little, just pennies and cents to their name. So they need some drops. It does put us back to that all-even affair again, though, Tom. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This, in many ways, mirroring the start to the first half.
This is one of the things that I truly love about Astralis and the way that they play Counter-Strike. It's just their thought process in such short amounts of time. Now, you can tell by the way that they were setting themselves up. I don't think the initial play was going to be towards short. They pretty much left it completely open and seemed like the rest of the team was setting up for a mid play. So when Apex spots them, they then change their mind. Okay, he's expecting us to go for a mid play. We're going to run through his smoke. Now, it's a bold play. It's a risky play. It's one that you need every single player on your team to be on the same page. And it's something that Astralis do probably better than anyone else, because you could tell by the way that the rest of the team of Vitality rotated, they were on the same page that I was. Okay, they're going to try and make a mid play now. Why would they run through the smoke? Well, because they're going to wreck you on the other side, Apex, unfortunately, and they've taken a round because of it.
Masuta going in first, trying to take some of the early damage and the brunt of it away from Shox, who they can maybe pivot in. Mollies, flashes, smokes, all being tossed in, and no one's checked the tight left, and Masuta's going to punish them. 3 kills, and now Shox can just spray in with the FAMAS. It's nearly a clean sweep. Excellent work from Masuta, but Astralis uncharacteristically make a mistake and don't check one of their angles, and they get punished.
Yeah, it looked like it was half checked. Like the player that initially walked in, I think it was S-Tag, that it looked like he kind of looked in that direction, but because he also looked away from a flash at the same time, I think it just left them in a confused state. The second player expecting the first player to have checked it, and it just completely went wrong for Astralis. Mistakes are made. They happen sometimes, and actually they're going to take a pause off the back of it, and I don't really blame them. Those are sort of rounds that you can't afford to give up, and for a team that obviously are coming back on the rise, we know that they're going to sub another player back into their roster, which I think means they take a hit to their points again. I'm not really sure how it works with putting back in a player that you had in before when you've now played one event with another player. I think that's for someone else with slightly better knowledge than me to calculate. But they want to be getting as many points as they can nonetheless. And not forgetting it gives you Pro Tour points as well. S-Tag, though. Seems like the smoke plays. Maybe they've taken a slight leaf out of Fnatic's book, because that's another opener. RPK in the ground. PT side still not with a perfect position here. In fact, Magis, he's just playing a game of duck hunt, just picking them all off, leaving 2 members standing. And, well, moments ago we were talking about a cheeky round win for Vitality. Now Zywoo and Apex clinging on for dear life.
Ebb and flow of this match, unrivaled really. We've had some truly outstanding maps to commentate on, but I think this has to take the prize at the moment. See if it can continue to live up to that mark come the latter stages of it. But Astralis straight back in, and it was just pretty basic and passive. They let Vitality run in and check for information, and Magis, as you said, I mean, basically just sat back with the AK, tap, 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 2 players down, and that's basically the round that goes with it. Now, when we saw Astralis play against Fnatic and, for the most part, come out behind in that game, I think they lost it 16-7, it was long control on both sides that was an issue for Astralis. So it's cool to see them make those slight adjustments and get some success now against Vitality.
I think the other thing as well that Fnatic were doing, and it's something very Fnatic, they were playing almost weird. Like the way that they were trying to retake in a lot of the rounds was, you can have long, you can even get across, but then we'll just incendiary your team and split them apart as you try and take the actual site. And it just wasted so much time for Astralis, who in a lot of rounds do like to go for these sort of more aggressive long plays. The other thing as well is, again, there was another round that springs to mind where Flusher and Krins just managed to completely waste their time, just like switching guns in pit and just completely confusing the members of Astralis while fighting them behind smokes. That's not really something that I think is going to work as well for the likes of Vitality, because, well, as Blair so amply put it earlier, Fnatic somehow managed to pull out a lot of bullshit every once in a while. So it, although Zywoo can do the same, it's on a completely different level.
His 1v4 first 1v2 plus of DreamHack Open Fall, and his 5th 1v4 ever.
Really?
Still a very
1v2 plus.
Yeah, he got like a deagle play, but I want to say that there was more people alive on the site with him. So otherwise, that definitely would have been one of those moments. But a very young career, and what a shoot to the top, a meteoric rise Zywoo has had, and I'm sure he will be featuring in CS:GO for many, many years to come.
Well, we had that stat for like, I think it was it Flusher and JW? And I think Flusher was also on 5. Either way, it is going to be an aggressive push from RPK. He's looking to try and battle for long. It didn't go too well in the last round, but this one, I'm not even sure how Device survives that nade. I guess it gets caught in the corner a little bit more. Dupree, peekaboo. Oh, I thought he might even do the jump up, but I guess you don't do that with Zywoo. It's not really worth the risk. An early kill goes each side's way, but Device, he's a bit stuck here. I wouldn't like to be in his position, that's for sure.
They will check him. They will frag him. Never really stood a chance. Had he have got 1 kill for his troubles, that would have been a bit of a miracle, let alone withstanding both shots. Using those smokes, was hoping his teammate could come out and do a little bit more, and even though the dink does connect onto Dupree, a 3k to the Dane, the Demolisher on Nuke, allows him to stay alive a little bit longer, but he has to fend off against Apex and RPK. Molotov put down affords him safe passage for the plant. Another Molotov. He just wants to rotate and mix up his angles, get a little bit difficult to deal with. A little bit unpredictable, perhaps. Dupree flicking across, misses his spray, and that probably is the chance that goes with it. And RPK holds on with his AK. Vitality regained the lead.
Is it happening again? It's the back and forth. It's not quite as bad as last time because technically Vitality got 2 at the start of this half. In fact, well, if we're talking about technically they won both pistols, but I'm not really going to count that as like the streak of rounds because there really wasn't any in the first half. I do like the play though from Shox. It's incredibly risky, and his teammate on the other side makes the same play, and they managed to actually pincer in the remaining couple of players. Also, RPK, a good round from him on long. He's been a little bit quiet so far in, well, I guess you could say in this series because the first map didn't exactly go to plan. Zywoo, though, second map, he's been anything but. He's looking to try and style on them. Device will at least close him out, but the damage is done. S-Tag, Magic, trying to close this one out, trying to bring this back, but wow, there'd have to be some pretty serious mistakes from Vitality if they were to.
Yeah, this feels like it would be more Vitality losing the round than Essetag necessarily winning it. I think Essetag has kind of accepted his fate. They'd like to hold on to this AK if possible, but you've got over a minute to play with, and you better believe that Vitality will be breathing down his neck. However, when you look at the economy of Vitality, it's hardly booming at the moment, so if he can get a couple of kills before his way out, then that could be good enough to set them up late game. But the second he comes around this corner, Shox with a perfect crosshair placement does dispatch him post-haste. 12-10, Astralis likely into some deagles and not much else. This is Vitality's chance now to run away and bring us to Overpass.
Oh, that was a dirty little shot coming out from Shox. So here we go. 12-10. Pistols out this time for Astralis. It's not anything too pretty, that's for sure. Honestly, Vince, at this point, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, because this game has given so much, taken so much away as well. I feel like my IQ has dropped dangerously low from just the shock that's come through. I feel like I'm losing brain cells, but you know, the game itself has been incredible. Shox in a good position. Definitely prepared for a B push. The smoke trying to allow the T's to at least gain a little bit of extra ground before they do go rushing into the site. The flashbang leaves one blind, but Masuta sat in the corner. He's the surprise. He's the man sneaking around in the back lines, but Dupree will deal with him. Shox needs to hold the line. He's done a great job so far, but he has been tagged low. And in fact, S-Tag's come up with 2 Tech 9s. Vintage Fnatic coming out of the Dane. And now, while Zywoo and RPK do have the better weaponry, the nade even being dropped in, but the bomb just being faked. In fact, even an incendiary trying to push Device back. He's going to get burned out the corner. In fact, he goes down, and Zywoo finds a second. It's left all onto Dupree. He's so low. The nade might dunk out Zywoo, but it doesn't quite reach. And Device, it all fell apart, went completely wrong for him. And a 13th just about goes onto the board for Vitality.
Another masterclass from Zywoo. Beautiful retake. I would like to also say, though, that those smokes execute that Astralis threw in there was sublime. You could see that Shox and Masuda, even though they were playing the site together and wanted a crossfire, were completely isolated and segregated because of the wall of smokes that was put down. That was really beautiful. Definitely go back and watch that again, guys. As Magisk just drive-by dig, as you do. He gets punished by Zywoo, but he'll be pretty happy with that outcome. The problem for Astralis, though, is they're looming dangerously close to conceding the second map. Vitality should be holding on and taking us to a 14-10. And at that point, Astralis' next rifle round pretty much is a sink or swim moment. The Danes will be clumping together, picking up the bomb and headed towards B, where they only have Masuda to contend with. I say only, he's definitely had an upward turn in his performance and his trajectory, and he's just taking them down one by one. Solid hold for Masuda. He gets the 4K, and Vitality now 2 rounds shy of Overpass.
Yeah, looking good, and especially for someone in this sort of match. Like Masuda has definitely started to rise to the occasion, and we know that, well, even currently, if you look on some of the cams sat behind RPK, you do have Navira, and we know that they're trying to make this a proper 6-man roster, but, well, excuse me for having my doubts just because of what we've seen from every other 6-man roster so far. I'm interested to know who, well, if someone needs a break or if it is just going to be switching out for tournaments, but I wouldn't know if I had to make the choice who I would choose. Shox going to kick things off with another opener. Astralis, they've had close rounds over the last few, but they haven't managed to get any over the line. They need to start doing that, otherwise we do head to a third. And well, I mentioned it earlier, both teams currently have a 100% win rate over the last 3 months on Overpass. That's not going to last to the end of the day unless Astralis make a comeback here.
Oh, it's so filthy. May just tries to jump across the smoke. Just gets instantly dinked, of course. Just straight away. He's down to 12. He's not too happy, and neither are Astralis. They haven't really made up too much ground. We've seen them in these positions many, many times. But already down a player. Magisk, the walking wounded, very likely will get finished off the second he shows himself. And they still need to take control of long. They have to deal with RPK, who's in pit. Zywoo, perched just next to the cart. Flashbang will allow them to go for that quick peek. Whether RPK can hold on to some kills or yet to be seen, he gets the one. Even while Flashbanged still holds his nerve. And now 20 seconds to go. It is looking grim. It's looking bleak for Astralis. Their woes continue on Dust 2. They've run into a Vitality who have been on point. So you can't take anything away from the Frenchman. But Astralis have seemed a little bit toothless in part on this T side. And they are struggling to contend with the threat of Vitality. 5 map points.
The other side of things does look like Godsent have just closed this. No heroics from Kenny this time, and it looks like they even did it with the pistols as well. I'm sure that G2 are not going to be happy in that position. Obviously, both teams already out of the running when it comes to the tournament. Nonetheless, we now look at Astralis. A tactical pause. When they've tried this before, it's been round victories off the back of them. The buy they're coming up with is not amazing, although I will say, even with a UMP in their hands, for example, Glaive has shown that that weapon definitely can work for him.
He does like to pick up the UMP. We've seen him pick it up a ton of times already over the duration of this tournament, whereas a lot of players would dip down to the Mach 10. Glaive still prefers the old faithful Zywoo. Quick peek, double peek with AWPs actually. Joined alongside Shox. This gives up a bit of long control though. And Astralis will make the most of it. They run in. Glaive picks up the AWP, puts it down range onto Apex, changes up his angles. A miss from middle may cost Vitality at least one of these map points. They're still in this, but Astralis are hemorrhaging health from both Esitag and Glaive, and they look to relocate. They look to push in. Masuta, though, is taking the initiative, pushed straight out of tunnels. Not a play that they've gone for just yet, and he gets the reward with 2, and it could be a 3rd, even if he goes down. Surely this is the map-winning play. And Dupree holds his nerve, but he's only got 11 HP left. And because of how long that skirmish lasted, the rotation comes in from Zywoo, and it's going to be Shocks that actually nullifies him. It's going to Overpass, Tom. 1 apiece.
Yes, this will be a 3rd map thriller, and I cannot wait to see where this one goes down. It is going to be Overpass coming up next after a break.